Welcome back, everyone, to the world's most consistent podcast. That's right, we're back with another installment of the OK Podcast, once again covering E3 as we always do. And of course, I'm joined once again by my co-host. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Good to be back.
Yes. You are, of course, the great artist who has designed our thumbnail.
Oh yeah, I just there's just something about this E3 I felt really inspired.
Yeah.
To make that.
Yes. The name of this video, I think, kind of gives away the nature of this installment. So we're not really going to beat around the bush here. So I'll just get it out of the way. This is our first episode. Just to remind you, of course, we will have a second episode that's focused specifically on Nintendo. So this is all of the streams that we chose to watch that were not Nintendo. And there were many streams, so we didn't comprehensively watch all of them just because of how much stuff there was. It's just not something we wanted to do. So we picked ones that we thought would be good. You know?
If you're expecting something like, the limited run games one, or even like the Devolver, if Devolver did one, I don't know.
They did, yeah. But the list was huge. Compared to previous years, there were so many streams,
Yeah. But if you're looking for stuff like that, then unfortunately we just couldn't really get around to it.
It's just a lot of stuff. And I think that's part of how E3 works is, it's people's time. People's time is at stake, one might say. So we just don't have time to watch everything. And we try to find conferences that are going to interest us to begin with. So, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat. I think this is the worst E3 that I can remember.
Yep, I completely agree. It comes with like, you would watch a conference, right? You'd start a conference, be like, okay, maybe something will be here. And then just endlessly just wait for something to pop, and just nothing came.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. I think I do say worst E3, and I mean it, because there were technically some events that weren't part of E3. At least I don't think they were. And those were the events that we mostly thought were the better ones that we watched. E3 itself, it just seemed like, wasn't well organized. And if you don't believe me, take a look at all the people complaining over the last few days on social media or whatever, because a lot of things were listed as being conferences or big announcements, and they simply weren't. I think the two biggest examples that I noticed was Take-Two Interactive. That was just like an internal panel. It wasn't a conference, but a lot of people thought it was going to be one. Because it was kind of labeled that way on a lot of maps, or, there's always those articles that just say, here's everything you need to know that's going to be at E3. And things weren't listed properly. Bandai was the most egregious, because I saw Bandai.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bandai was listed on a lot of stuff, so I made sure to make a note of it. Because, hey, Bandai Namco makes a lot of games. And it wasn't even a stream that they did on their channel. It was just
it was just like a small, singular trailer, and I guess some people talked about it afterwards.
Well, I caught it. I thought I missed it because I was waiting for the Namco stream to start, and it didn't. And then I just went to the E3 stream, and it was just like a 10-15 minutes of them kind of talking about the Dark Pictures game that's coming out soon. And then once that stopped, I realized, oh God, this was it. This wasn't actually a conference. They weren't announcing anything. It was just, at this time, Namco will be presenting anything at all. And that somehow got, I don't know whose fault it is, but from an organizational and communication standpoint, somebody really screwed up this year.
The conversations they were having about that Dark Pictures game, there wasn't really even any substance, really. It was just kind of them saying, oh, I think this game might be scary, and stuff like they didn't bring on a developer or anything.
Well, they
at least
did
make it interesting.
Well, there was
did?
Okay, you're technically correct, because there was a pre-recorded interview, and then they were just
Oh, okay,
reacting to
yeah.
it. So technically, they didn't. And that's the other thing I should mention.
Yeah,
We did
but I
not.
mean, like the afterward. That's what I would.
That's what you're right. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. We didn't really watch the E3 stream. We just go straight to the conferences because like I don't particularly like listening to talking heads kind of not really say anything of substance, even though that's what we're doing right now. So I guess we'll get into it. One other thing I want to say before we start. We talked about this before, because I know we're going to get this probably in the comments, or, I've seen people say this. We absolutely recognize that the COVID situation has likely affected game design, game development, even now. Last year, there was no E3. There were events. We kind of chose to not cover them, but this was E3 coming back, and I know that there are limitations. There have been problems with development, but my opinion is that if you don't really have anything to show, don't waste your money and don't waste our time putting on a conference. Because
don't start just hyping up like, oh, E3's back, get ready, 2 weeks, here comes E3, all the announcements you want, and it's like, don't just do that and come with nothing,
Yeah, I think that a lot of the companies that chose to have conferences didn't need to. They could have just slotted these trailers anywhere else into the E3 schedule. I think that's my main criticism is when companies choose to have a conference but can barely seem to justify it. And we, in my opinion, have 2 of those this year. And, boy. So the good news is we are going to start with the stuff that we liked, because I'd say the first 2 conferences that I watched, I thought were pretty good. Not perfect or anything, but they were pretty good. So we'll get into the first one here. This isn't technically E3, but it's the Summer Games Fest. Jeff Keighley, he did this last year, and I will admit that I did not actually watch it, but I saw it was still happening for some reason, so I figured, hey, why not? I love Jeff.
Yeah.
We love Jeff here.
Jeff's a nice man.
Jeff is a nice man. I know that there's a lot of memes about him, or just people don't like Jeff Keighley, but like he tries. He tries.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think about how good of a job he does, he tries. I like him.
He puts himself out there,
He's always got good intentions. He seems to really give a crap about the games. So that show was really long. It was like 2 hours. So it was probably a little too long. It was tough to watch just because I was impatient, I guess. Either way, so we have some games from that, but obviously not everything. Just games that we felt looked interesting or looked really not interesting. So starting off, I think this was like the second or third game they showed, but it was Metal Slug Tactics. That kind of came out of nowhere to me.
Same.
But I do like tactical games, and Metal Slug SNK is kind of having like a comeback.
Yeah, they're having like a really kind of like big renaissance with like all their old IPs. Like they came out with a mobile game that did pretty good, the Samurai Showdown that did very well for them, and now they're coming out with that new King of Fighters. Sure, it got delayed recently, but it's really starting to look good.
Yeah, King of Fighters definitely coming back, and obviously, I guess Terry and Smash is a part of that. It's been cool to see a company that I guess at one point was like, maybe we're just going to do pachinko, has really turned around, and they're just making games now. So I like that. I mean, I've played Metal Slug games, but I've never really been a huge fan, but I always liked the art. So that's why I liked seeing this. It's like a tactical kind of XCOM, maybe, Metal Slug. But apparently there's like a Metal Slug phone game in Japan that's kind of like this or something. So this is just like an evolved form of that, which is fine.
They really just, at least for the art style, they 100% just nailed it. Like, it just looks just like the old games.
And the animated little parts of the trailer, I thought, looked good too. I don't really know if that's going to be in the game, but I like the way that looked. And there is apparently an actual like new Metal Slug game also in development that's in 3D that looks pretty good.
Oh, really?
But that wasn't at this show for whatever reason. I think it's called like
Huh.
Awakening or something. It's kind of a weird name, but
Huh. Maybe I should
so
look that up. See what that's all about.
yeah. So I guess if you're really into Metal Slug, you still have something to look forward to there. But I just thought I'd give that a shout out.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the. Okay, so I guess this is a big one because anytime that Kojima shows up, you never know what's going to happen. Genius Kojumbo, game design legend, has appeared before us to talk with Jeff about how awkward it is that Death Stranding sort of predicted the future. But, I guess he kind of has to comment on that, in some way or form. It just kind of makes sense because a lot of people have said this already.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I mean...
Preppers, visiting, don't touch anybody, visiting, bunkers where people don't come out.
Yeah, Death Stranding...
A mysterious disease.
Death Stranding, if it had come out, 3 to 4 months later... I really have to wonder what would have happened, but it didn't. It came out just before, so either way...
Yeah, right on the edge.
Yeah, right on the edge. And then they showed a Death Stranding trailer, and that trailer, I thought it was cute, but I was getting a little nervous. Because I was like, he's really... this looks familiar. The music choices, the references. I'm like, oh, is this Metal Gear? What is he doing? Is this the multiplayer? Oh, is he really gonna get into a box? Are we gonna do that again?
A box full of oranges?
Yeah, what's going on here?
The rat going in there?
Yeah. But then Sam just kind of didn't do that.
Yeah.
He's like, well,
he just put it away.
This. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
So that's my interpretation of this trailer is that's Kojima saying, don't worry, I'm not just gonna rip myself off, which I guess is kind of I'm not going to say it's a problem, but it's a recurring phenomenon that you do see with some people who leave a big company and their big project is just the same thing. I mean, Mighty Number 9 was probably the most blatant example of that, but you also have Bloodstained and there's a couple others. So I was
it doesn't mean these games aren't bad, but it's the whole thing where it's I'm known for making this. I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna make a new company, and I'm not gonna really try anything new. I'm just gonna kind of make the thing I was good at, which can't blame you for that. But
it depends on what you make, I would say, because I always see if you make something that was already niche and you just keep doing that, that's one thing, but it's a little. I just want to see developers push themselves, even if they are getting on in years. So when I saw that, I thought that was kind of the reference. Was Kojima's not interested in just recycling his old ideas, hopefully. But either way, this was an announcement for the Death Stranding Director's Cut, which I have to assume is going to be PS5 exclusive. Unfortunately, we don't really know anything about it. They said that they're going to reveal it in a couple weeks. So we don't really have information. I'm very curious because director's cut, they might have just picked that term, because it's Kojima. But I do think that it's certainly possible that it suggests that this is not just a remaster for PS5. There might actually be things of substance added. I don't really know what those would be. I'm not even sure if I like the idea because, I did buy this game a while ago. I'd like to have the new stuff.
I remember you bringing up, Death Stranding on the PC. How they added, hacking and, some, Cyberpunk crossover stuff.
Yeah, that was a crossover with Cyberpunk, but it was only on computer, and it added actual game mechanics. So there's a possibility that those ideas of, being able to hack the mules could actually be added to the game in a way that's more balanced. I don't know. It's just. And
I do hope there's more to this director's cut than just here's all the stuff we put on the PC and we're done here. I hope that maybe a new cutscene here and there, some side quest or something. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room to add new and interesting deliveries that could be there as a fun challenge for people. I think that would be a neat thing to try if they just want to add a bunch of challenge content. But, this is mostly content that you could just patch in at any time, but they might be making us buy a director's cut for it, which I wouldn't be huge on. So I'm
Yeah,
not
no, that would
sure
be
how to feel about. I like Death Stranding, so and more Death Stranding it would be fun to see, but I'm not really sure I'm sold on this in its current form. But hey, in a couple weeks, maybe we'll get more information, and who knows?
I
Um,
mean, one thing they could do, like multiplayer would be nice. Like
yeah, I
going
think
through that world like
yeah,
together, and like imagine you're just trudging up like a mountain with some supplies, and your friends carrying the other stuff, and they just fall down,
yeah.
and you have to help them get back up.
That's the one thing that I felt Death Stranding. I mean, not that I think it was necessary to have multiplayer, but like it's a weird kind of gameplay style that would work with friends. So, but I do feel that like the possibility of co-op or multiplayer, that's almost enough of a justification just for Death Stranding 2 alone. So I don't know if they're going to try it, but I think it would be a good selling point because I feel like multiplayer in Death Stranding could be very creative.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on.
Yeah, you're gonna want to keep an eye on for any like suspicious activity. Speaking of suspicious activity,
very good. Our first real transition.
Yeah,
So
right.
speaking of that, yes, I did put Among Us on this list. We do actually play Among Us because we're hip with the kids.
Yeah.
And
Got skateboard and everything.
very small team. I always was kind of like, I wish they could put out updates faster, but I understand the situation they're in. But I like seeing, yeah, they have. There's like 4 of them, so
Yeah.
maybe 2, maybe like 6 at this point because they probably hired a couple people. But yeah, they've got a trailer that I thought was like a good representation of what they want to do. Bigger lobbies is nice, but the thing that caught my attention mostly was the new roles that they're going to be adding, which I know obviously it's like, oh, remember Mafia, Werewolf, whatever you want to call it? Oh, it's just like that because I've certainly played Mafia where there were other roles. But I do think that that's an element of the experience that could add to the game. And I mean, at least for me, because like when I first saw Among Us, I was like, is this like a not really like difficult to figure out version of Space Station 13? Like that's what I thought it was before I had played it. So I do like the idea of like crew members who can do special things or have to do certain things. That's that.
I mean, I do hope it's more than just like say like, oh, this guy's the sheriff, and the only thing the sheriff does is that he has like a little cowboy badge next to his name. Like, I hope it's more than just titles,
I think that, yeah, I mean, that's true. I think I saw, there's like at least 4 or 5 that they showed pictures of. One of them looked like a fortune teller, which is actually an idea that I thought about. I remember thinking like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way that you could communicate with players who've already died? Like the way I imagined it would be like a magic 8-ball. Or like you could ask a question to people who've died and they can answer it, but they can only pick certain responses. So I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I do think that giving dead players more to do would be a good thing to add. So
yeah, because like once you're dead, it's like I guess I could do my tasks, or I could just leave and just find a new match. So they might want to keep them in there,
Especially now that you can have 15-man lobbies.
Yeah, which they just put in, I believe, as of like the 15th,
which is
today.
Still today, yeah. So
yeah,
I do. I don't know, but like you're gonna have a lot of ghosts flying around on those maps, so you should give them more to do. But I like Among Us. I think it's fun, and I was happy to see it. Because I think it's like. It's not. This isn't like Hello Neighbor. This isn't some crappy like meme game. It's actually like a pretty good game. That's fun.
Yeah, like this is the game that like they thought it was a game first before they wanted to like be like, oh, this is like a profitable venture or whatever. You know,
it blew up organically, and now they got to actually just keep the momentum going, which they're doing. And I'm glad that they can just take all the ideas they probably had planned for Among Us 2 and just put them in here now. That's like what's really happening, I think.
Yeah, like why start from scratch when you already have like a good base to like really improve upon?
Yeah. So, I'm just happy to see that they're making tangible progress towards these things, I guess. Okay, next up, Oh yeah, fun fact. This is the only show that we watched that had PlayStation related content, because as we all know, PlayStation doesn't do E3 anymore. But there were 3 different PlayStation things at this Summer Game Fest, and the second one is what we're about to talk about. And the first word of this game describes probably a lot of people who've watched E3 this year, and really any year, which is the sequel to Salt and Sanctuary, Salt and Sacrifice, which I know you've played quite a bit of.
Oh yeah. So my history with like Salt and Sanctuary in general, it's mainly to the developers, Ska Studios, which I absolutely just adore their games. Like they always manage to like bring their own style and like flavor to everything. Like you're playing a Ska Studio games when like the combat is kind of Devil May Cry-ish, but it also has like that grungy like art style to it.
It's dirty looking.
Yeah, it's very dirty looking. It's like you opened up like somebody's sketchbook and like just looked at the little like drawings in the corner. Like it's got its like charm. And as far as Salt and Sacrifice goes, compared to the first one, I really like what they're doing here. I feel like this one really has its own identity compared to like Salt and Sanctuary, which like it was obvious. It was like it's Bloodborne. Salt and Sanctuary, it's just Bloodborne.
Like, I remember watching you play it, and I was like, "Come on, I'm like, look, this game's probably fun, but like, don't you want to not rip off like the big video game?"
Yeah, like, because that's the thing. The combat itself, like, it's its own like thing. It's like half Devil May Cry, but with like the stamina meter of like their Souls game. Like,
yeah, because it's 2D, so obviously it doesn't play like Dark Souls in that sense.
No, it doesn't. Which is why like I like that. Like, oh, in this one you're going for like different like there's more color in certain areas. I believe you're going up against like it's been like a few days since I've seen the trailer, but like I think it's like mages or something, and you're like trying to like you take their hearts rather than like, oh, you've defeated. Like I think it's great that they're really like trying to give this like I guess franchise now its own true identity.
Yeah, that's definitely an important step for them to take. And yeah, PlayStation is helping them out on this, which I guess, hey, it's good to see big companies helping smaller studios. So
yeah,
kind of an interesting surprise that we saw.
Yeah, but they can't do that endlessly. Like this next game.
Which I made sure to put on the list, which would be Endless Dungeon. And
I unfortunately don't remember this.
No, you probably don't. Well, that was at the Game Awards as well. That's when they announced it. So Endless Dungeon is a dungeon-y exploring game. Okay, look. Here's what I got to say about this.
Who would have thought?
Endless Dungeon is a part of the Endless franchise, I guess, which is mostly, like 4X games. Because there's Endless Space, which is, obviously a space sim kind of diplomacy war game. And then there's Endless Legend, which is kind of like Civilization, but it's also got a lot of other things going on. And they have, a few other releases as well. But I really love the Endless games because they have a fantastic visual aesthetic, and the soundtracks are incredible. Like, they have a really great atmosphere, and they're so creative. Are you looking at it now? Yeah, go look up anything about the Endless games. I think like Mandalore said this in his review of Endless Legend, how like some guy who just really likes badass wallpapers probably just has a bunch of like splash art from the games, and he doesn't even know.
Oh wow!
Because it's great. I love their art, and their music is fantastic. Really great soundtracks. So this is sort of a continuation of a game they did called Dungeon of the Endless, which was like a pixel art, like turn-based tower defense. I don't know. I didn't play it that much. It's kind of on my backlog, but
it was like a mix of like genres.
Yeah, they did this like weird little game, and so this I think is them trying to take that concept of we're doing an isometric kind of hero. I don't want to say hero shooter, but like it's a wave defense kind of game where you've got to go through levels and you have characters. And I think that it's cool to see this different genre because I love the setting. Like you could make a really awesome like big ass RPG in this world that they've created because it's that interesting to me. And so this is sort of like a smaller story. My only real criticism is that the trailers that I've seen thus far, I don't really think capture the atmosphere of the Endless universe very well. They kind of feel like they're trying to appeal to a wider audience. And you could certainly say that this game is trying to appeal to a wider audience because it's more of an action game. But I'm still going to keep my eye on it because I think it could have a lot of potential. And I like Amplitude Studios and the work that they have done. They also have Humankind, which is their big Civ competitor they're working on now. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on this. And maybe check it out. I mean, a lot of people, like, if you just like cool sci-fi shit, please go look up Endless. Like, all of it. It's really inspiring on that level, I find.
It's really nice to see, like, a developer, like, branch out and, like, doing something different from what they usually do.
Yes, you don't want to do the same thing that you already did because that's confusing. And
yeah, it'd be a little weird if you made like I don't know 6 or 7 games that all have kind of similar things in them,
and then you just kept doing it when you suggested that you weren't going to do that.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Elden Ring.
Okay, so I just want
to I'm not 100% negative on it.
No. Listen, here's the thing. When we were first watching this stuff, I thought the biggest hot take I was going to have was my opinion of Elden Ring, but the whole conference is not good, so I don't even know if this matters anymore. But I'm just going to say it. From watching the Elden Ring trailer that was at the Summer Games Fest, I am really disappointed with Elden Ring, personally. Because in my opinion, I saw almost nothing that justifies it not being Dark Souls 4. Like, aesthetically, and the story that they showed, it's the same thing again. So, what's going on, FromSoft?
Yeah, you're the Tarnished, and you have to do something to right the world.
It's a dying world. You've got to free the world. It's the same thing, and
they brought in George R.R. Martin, but it's like
why would you bring
the same thing?
Yeah, why would you bring in George R.R. Martin and just say? Did they just tell him like, can you like rip off Dark Souls? And they forgot they made Dark Souls. Like, I don't think this game looks bad because I didn't dislike what we saw, but we didn't see that much.
No, we didn't.
I just question why this is a new IP because I struggle to see the justification for that. The only real gimmick that they showed is that okay, there's more wide open world travel because you got a horse, but in my opinion, I think that actually might be a bad thing because what I love about Dark Souls is the interconnected world level design, and I'm just not sure if you can still have that when you also...
Yeah. So here's the thing. Apparently there was a kind of recent interview with
Miyazaki.
One of the devs. Oh, was it Miyazaki? Okay,
it might have been Miyazaki. I read a couple of them. So.
Yeah. But he put out some details like saying like, okay, so the big exploration part is kind of like your hub in a way. So when you would take your horse around, you would move around this hub. But around this entire hub, there's like 6 dungeons. And these 6 dungeons kind of work like, remember Demon Souls? Like, you pick one and then you go. Apparently that's what they're kind of going for, where you can go to any of these 6 dungeons at any time. So... Right.
Which they've... So I guess it's going to be more like Demon Souls and like Dark Souls 2 to a degree.
Yeah, structure-wise.
But I don't... Well, they didn't have an interconnected world. They still had good level design, but they did not do that. So for me, it's like... the things I like about Dark Souls I feel are kind of specific, and the franchise just kind of goes away from that direction. And it's just, Bloodborne... That's the thing. Bloodborne and Sekiro exist, and I would argue that they look a lot more distinctive than this.
Yeah.
I look at those games and I don't think this should have just been Dark Souls 4. And so far, Elden Ring has not convinced me that it deserves to be a new IP. I mean, Namco is still producing this, so like, why would Namco be like, yeah, just make the same thing again?
Yeah, I assume Namco is a bit disappointed in it, but they're like, well, I mean, it's FromSoft, so we're gonna make money regardless.
Yeah, they know that people will buy it because it looks like Dark Souls, but I just question why FromSoft wants to continue to do this when they may have had an opportunity to experiment, try something else. And so I just kind of was hoping that that's what we would get. I'm disappointed on that level, but this could still be a totally fine game, and it's very possible that there's things we're not seeing about how it plays. I did see an interview where they suggested that you can actually, like, enemies you've killed, their souls can actually be summoned to fight for you, which sounds very different from Dark Souls. So, hey,
yeah,
if
that's cool.
If there's things like that, and they're like real things that you actually do, then good. That's what I want. But so far, I wasn't thrilled with this trailer, and I was really hoping that there was going to be more of this at the Namco event, but then we found out there was no Namco event.
Well, that's the thing. I feel with this game especially, I think, like, you know, we can have our current, like, what do we think right now, but I think we definitely need to see more of this. Like, we need to see, like, what is this game, like, you know, show us the map, show us, like, what's the play style like?
Yeah, more
can
combat.
You like do stealth thing? Is there like is the combat different? Like we just need to see more of this game, and I think we might start, you know, feeling better about it. But as of like right now, the impression, you know,
it wasn't
quite
a bit
to be desired.
But I think it could be better. So I'm waiting to see it improve. But you know, but that's the other thing. This was a disappointment when I saw it, but compared to other trailers, this was pretty good. So just keep that in mind. Like I do think Elden Ring being shown off was one of the better things overall, and it was a good closer for the Summer Games Fest. I just wish that there were things, you know, mostly better than it. So that's all we have to say about Summer Games Fest. So we're moving on, and we're now at
bye, Jeff.
Bye, Jeff. See you in December, right?
Can't wait.
Yeah. So Ubisoft does the forwards, which is their direct thing. I think this was the first one I've watched. I haven't watched the other ones, and
they've all been. They've been okay.
I mean,
nothing special.
I mean, I keep up with like Rainbow Six a lot, so I'm like, I don't need to watch these other ones because I don't really play that many other Ubisoft games. Like, I'll get them on sale, but like, I haven't played Assassin's Creed since 3. So, like, I'm not super into some of these franchises. So we don't really have a lot of games on our list, but I will say there were several games that I thought looked good. They just don't appeal to me. Like, I thought Rocksmith Plus looked cool. I thought Riders Republic looked cool. There were a few others that I'm like, hey, that looks neat. But it's just not really my thing. So I think this was a good showing overall. But
yeah, one of the better ones.
Yes.
In this very dour E3.
Yeah. So we're going to start with one of the first games they showed, which is Rainbow Six Extraction. I think it's gone through a few name changes. But
wasn't it like originally like Outbreak or something?
Well, Outbreak.
Like that?
So yeah, Outbreak was the name of the event in Siege that was like the beta test for this, and then they announced it, and it was called Quarantine. And then I remember there was that's why they changed it. I do remember articles saying like, oh, it might have been changed to Parasite, but then I think one of the developers said that like Parasite's always been the code name, and then now it's just called Extraction. I think Parasite would have been a better title, but whatever.
Extraction doesn't really like give you the sense of like, you know, the weird kind of alien things they're fighting. Yeah,
because that's the thing. This is a Tom Clancy game, but say goodbye to realism because you're fighting alien zombie things in this game, and it still has the characters from Rainbow Six Siege, and it generally plays like that game. So, and you know, I'm a fan of that game. I still play it to this day. And this is one of those things where I think a lot of people just really hate the concept but I wanted to see how it played. And from watching it and looking at the footage, I did like it. I liked what I saw because I think that they're still trying to
Yeah,
capture
they
that.
definitely put work
Yeah, that
into it.
tactical element is there. I like that it still kind of has the structure of like maps and zones rather than you're just going through a big linear Left 4 Dead kind of environment. I like the idea that they still are trying to adhere to the structure of like we have these big maps that can change. So I think it looks dynamic and it looks interesting, and I do have a lot of questions about how certain aspects of the game are going to work. I mean,
Can I just give
yeah,
a quick hot take though?
sure.
Because game looks fun,
Mhm.
but I am not a fan of the enemy designs, honestly.
Some of them
Like,
look better than others, I guess.
yeah, but like I remember seeing like it's a pale humanoid human guy with blade arms. It's just so like some of them are just so boring in comparison to other ones.
I think they look better than they did in the Outbreak version. I think they've improved the designs,
Probably, yeah.
but it depends on how much variety there is. I mean, they can shoot you now, so that's like kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also like really thinking about it, I think people like if like say you replace like these like zombies with like standard terrorists or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you could probably just do the same game, but like I think people would be really like less weirded out by it. But
Well, yeah.
I think in that context, like people should just think like, okay, this is just kind of like a tactical like game, but it's got like these kind of weird sci-fi monsters in it.
Yeah, I think the main intention is I think there's less you can do when you're trying to just have realistic enemies. Like, this is the main criticism with the realistic military shooters, is that there really aren't different enemies to fight. So they want to avoid that by just saying, well, if our enemies are aliens, they can do things that a human could never do. And, so I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with it. I've had time to come to terms with it, So I'm okay with it. I like some of these ideas. I like the gross goo on the ground and stuff that like, ugh. So there's some cool alien concepts. And yeah, maybe it didn't need to be Rainbow Six related, but I don't know, it's popular and it'll sell better. And people understand how these characters play. And that's the thing I'm the most curious to see is like playing as certain characters from Siege and seeing how their abilities work now. Because
how do they translate?
Not everybody from Siege is going to be in this game, because there are definitely some characters who just like their gadgets would not do anything against this threat. So I don't expect that. But I'm curious.
Blue Boy's the guy who like shoots goo at people.
Legion should he would he'd probably work. They could figure out how to put him in. He'd work better than people like Vigil, like certain people who just like, ooh, you can't see them on the cameras. Like, nope, that's not gonna fly.
Yeah, that's not gonna do anything for these things.
So yeah, I don't.
But I mean, like,
that. But like they showed a good spread of characters, from what I remember seeing in the menu.
In the end, like, Rainbow Six Extraction isn't exactly a far cry from your standard, Rainbow Six tactical game.
It isn't, or it is?
It is not a far cry.
It's not a far cry?
From, like,
okay. Well,
yeah, no, which I mean is, like, if you want a Rainbow Six tactical game, this is what you want.
Okay.
But speaking of me messing up things...
Well, you're right. Rainbow Six Extraction isn't a Far Cry, but we do have a game that is a Far Cry, which is Far Cry 6, of course, which I honestly was kind of shocked that they didn't show more gameplay, like, especially at the Ubisoft event. They didn't actually show any, but they were too busy trying to advertise their season pass. I mean, I'm optimistic about Far Cry 6. I've played the Far Cry games intermittently, and, like, I had really mixed feelings with 5. There were things about it that I really liked. I thought it was fun to play. I went into the story having low expectations, but then there were aspects of it that I liked as it developed, and then I thought the ending was horrible. And I just kind of put the game down. I was just like, I don't want to think about this right now. So I never really revisited the game. But I'm optimistic for this one. I'm just hoping, hey, let's deliver a more consistent experience. And I liked a lot of ideas in 5, so if they push those further, this should be good.
For me, like, there's something about like 6, like, because it never really clicked for me. Like, I would say like the way they marketed 6 was so odd, where it's like every trailer is like this deadly serious. This is a serious game.
Yeah.
Oh man, your main character is a little girl. Oh, she has a grenade and she's got to throw it at protesters and stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. But then like, and I guess like not to go like too further into the next conference, but like,
we saw a different trailer at Microsoft.
Yeah, there's a different trailer there, and it was like, okay, every single trailer we've shown for this game has been like 100% dead serious. But here's the fun trailer. Here's where we show like the game actually does some neat things. Like you got like sticking with you.
Yeah,
and, like,
you got an angry chicken. I was excited.
You got this backpack that like I guess
shoots
like
rockets.
You could paint targets, maybe. I don't know.
There's cars that can also fly. I think.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like a lot about Far Cry 5. And I mean, I guess this is just a thing in the others, but you really do have a lot of freedom with how you want to do stuff. And I thought that a lot of like the allies that you could get in 5. It was kind of like, Metal Gear Solid 5, where you got the buddy system. It was like a take on that, and it was cool. It was cool seeing that stuff play out. So I want to see that stuff taken further, and I like having a lot of options. So
yeah, like really improve on it.
Yeah, and I think they're going to do that. And I just maybe like... And I think the setting of this game is better, because I didn't really... The setting of 5, look, and it's not like, oh, I'm an American and I can't take American bad guys. No, it's not that. I was okay with that until the ending, because the ending was bad. But
did you ever play that sequel they did to 5?
No, I did not play New Dawn.
Because, like, yeah, I don't know anyone who touched that game. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I didn't bother, because I just was like, I don't want to see what happens after this ending, because it was just very inconclusive. Well, I guess it was inconclusive, but it was just like...
Well, yeah, they made a sequel.
Yeah, it was just like... I understood what they were trying to do, but it was kind of a huge cop-out, because that way you don't have to resolve things. I mean, I don't know. I just think that Far Cry games need to work on their endings, because that's a big criticism with 3, is the ending isn't good. So, this game, figure it out, but I'm optimistic about it. And I'm probably not going to get it at launch, obviously.
No, you wait a month and this thing will be like $20.
Maybe, but either way,
it's a Ubisoft game. Their value goes down so quick.
That's true. And the DLC is pretty. Honestly, that was pretty interesting, because all of the DLC campaigns are just you playing as the villains of the last 3 games, and it's like a kind of a dream or takes place in their mind. And I think that's really interesting, especially for, like, Far Cry 3 is pretty old at this point. So, like, revisiting those characters could be really cool if done the right way. Because I think the last thing people want is, like, we're going to kind of, like, retcon things or have them behave inconsistently when it's been 10 years. Like, you're digging up these characters and people want to see them. So that might be interesting. Just as a concept, I think it's cool, but I can also see how it could go wrong. Ubisoft DLC is often very inconsistent, but hey, I like the idea. The idea kind of got to me a little, so.
Yeah, I remember they did some weird stuff with 5's DLC where you went to, like, Mars or something.
Yeah, 5's DLC was just, like, random adventures. It was just, here's Vietnam, here's Mars. So this at least, like, ties into things, I guess, which is better than just random nonsense. Although Blood Dragon was like the most random nonsense, and people like that. Yeah. So
I guess they're bringing back Blood Dragon.
Oh yeah, I think they said that that's included in the season pass, which I think is probably a bad idea, because you should just let people buy it as its own game. Wait,
you can't buy it by itself? Really?
I mean, look, I'm probably wrong.
I guess on later systems. I know you can buy it on 360. But...
Yeah, I don't know if they ever ported it, but they said, like, the season pass includes Blood Dragon, so I'm going to assume you can't just buy Blood Dragon on its own. And this is the only way you get it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this. But we'll see what happens when it comes out, when it's release time. Because it's going to come out. It's not going to get delayed again.
Yeah.
Like our next subject that we want to talk about.
I mean, yeah, like, it's on the frontier of its release.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
So this game kind of caught me completely off guard, but apparently it was announced like years ago. They just never showed any footage or gave a title to it, which is the
I guess so.
Avatar. No, not that Avatar, the movie. Frontier of Pandora, which could be totally fine as a game, I guess. I'm one of those people where when you mention the movie Avatar, I'm like, oh yeah, that was all right, and then I move on with my life, and I'm just like, I know they're bringing out the movies, they're doing it again, so I kind of feel like this game is several years late, but I guess this is also the optimal time to make another game and
put it out now, so you can support the movie.
Yeah, and to be honest, if the budget is sufficient, an Avatar video game could be pretty fun.
Yeah, the concept, they kind of got something with the first Avatar video game way back in the day, but you could obviously tell it was a budgeted ass movie game.
Yeah. So my hope is this is a higher budgeted movie game.
Yeah, I hope it does more interesting things. I don't know, maybe have two gameplay styles, kind of how the first game did, but polish them up a bit more.
That's true. When they were just showing the Na'vi, I was like, sleep. And then once they started showing the human mechs, I was like, oh boy. I don't know. I was just like, hey, guns. So I was like, hey, okay. So
mechs in space.
I wonder
mechs. If this guy likes 40K.
Ooh, yeah. Avatar is kind of die at 40K. It's not even die at 40K. It's just 1% 40K. But it has that dynamic of styles that don't match fighting, which I do like sometimes when it's done well.
I'm sure, I don't know, the game will come out and the movie will come out, and then people will forget about maybe either the movie or the game, and then then it'll still make $1 million somehow.
More than $1 million. a trillion
the Avatar,
dollars.
The Avatar effect is such an odd thing. For
yeah, I guess
such a low impact on pop culture and everything, and then all of a sudden highest grossing movie ever made.
Yeah, that's
so weird. It's so odd.
It is weird, isn't it? Either way, that was how the Ubisoft show ended. There is one other Ubisoft game, but we're not really going to talk about it here because it is also a Nintendo thing. So we figured we would include it in the Nintendo discussion. So
if you want to hear about that, then I'd say check out the other video.
Yes, the other video, which is maybe in the description. I don't know.
Maybe it's up. Maybe it's not. Who knows?
Watch every video on my channel, and you'll eventually find it.
Please do.
So we're gonna move on.
All right, let's. Now we're gonna start reaching into the trash bin.
Yeah, this is when we jump into a bottomless pit and we just keep falling from here on out. So I'm sorry,
it can't get any worse, and then it does.
Yeah, if you don't like hearing just us bitch about things, sorry.
We don't like doing it. Trust me.
No, I was like, we should be more positive, and then E3 happened, and I was like, ugh. So,
right, here we go again, I guess.
So here we are. It's Bethesda. It's Microsoft together as one creature, forcibly merged together. One could say. I will start off with the positive. I was happy that they did not continue to announce that they're buying more companies because I'm not really a huge fan of that at this point. I don't like big...
Me neither, no.
Big game publishers, developers, whatever. I don't like seeing them just buy more and more stuff. Microsoft buying Bethesda was tremendous, and I don't think it's good for consumers. And I would hate... Because we've been talking about this in the past, this rumor that they're going to buy Sega, which I feel like it's not going to happen.
That scares me.
Yeah, I don't want
that. Sega's on the upswing right now. They got the Yakuza games that are doing great. Virtua Fighter just came back.
Yeah, Atlas.
They're putting out a new Monkey Ball game. We'll talk about that later. But
yeah,
the Atlas RPGs. I don't want them to be bought when they have so much potential to grow right now.
Yeah, I just think these things are bad for consumers to have the diversity of companies shrink so suddenly.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing, and I don't like to see it. So I was happy that Microsoft didn't buy more companies, because I'm telling you that, like, ugh, I don't like
You,
that news just
you don't want
generally.
your favorite like dev bought by like I don't know Activision, and then suddenly they're just Call of Duty people now. Like,
Yeah, that's the risk. What if the projects start failing? Now you have to answer to someone. Like, I don't get why Bethesda went through with this, because I think Bethesda really didn't need to do this. My only hope is that now that Bethesda has to answer to someone, maybe this will motivate some of their games to be of a higher quality than they were. But I don't know, because they've gotten
mm.
away with crap quality for a while now. So yeah, we're
Speaking
gonna.
of crap, here's a crap trailer for
Yeah,
Starfield, I guess.
yeah, the Starfield trailer did not go over well for us because it didn't really show much of anything. I don't think
Nope.
we know any more about this game than we did when we saw the logo a couple of years ago. Like, I just feel like this was kind of a waste, and I needed to see something that suggested the way the game is going to actually play, and we just didn't get that. So,
There was nothing like,
ugh.
and the problem with Starfield is like the trailer is so generic. Like there is nothing you could see in that trailer that you like couldn't see in like say like a No Man's Sky or like any other kind of space.
The Outer
game.
Worlds.
Yeah,
That's
like
true.
the trailer like sure it gave a release date. Yeah, 11/11. Sky, who cares? But like
It's true.
there's nothing defining about the trailer that says like this is Starfield. There's no like Mass Effect. Like Mass Effect had like the interesting character design, the Geth, stuff like that. But Starfield just literally has nothing. It's like a gray wall. It's like a paste that you eat, and there's nothing to it.
Yeah, well, that's why we needed to see some gameplay. Because
Yeah.
I will say this. I have to say this, of course. There was definitely a time many, many years ago where you could tell me, "Hey, Bethesda's making a science fiction game. It's called Starfield," and I would have been like, "Hell yeah, this is going to be great." Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we don't live in that time anymore. The last two
Days
Bethesda
gone
games,
by.
yeah, Fallout 4 to me was a big mess. 76 is a laughing stock. And so we're not at the point where I'm really like confident or convinced that Bethesda can even handle this kind of game, especially with all like the paid mods and some of this other crap they're trying to shove in there. So I'm worried about this, and the bugs that will probably be a thing.
Don't you mean the charm? Ugh.
Well,
Like-
eventually you run out of charm. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I just don't. I was disappointed with this. This was a huge. Not a fan of this trailer, and they need to show something of more substance sooner than later. I mean, this
Yeah.
game is coming out next year, so they got to get on that. I still remember being really suspicious because like they didn't really talk about Fallout 4 until like 4 months before it came out, and that rubbed me the wrong way when I played the game, and I realized maybe they didn't want to talk about it because the thing was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
So we're going to just kind of put that by the wayside. That's Starfield. No speculation.
It exists, I guess.
It exists. I think I saw a gun. That suggests there will be guns in the game.
They were on a planet. Is it Mars? I don't know.
What a crazy thing to speculate. I think there's going to be guns. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, they showed a Stalker 2 trailer, which I think a lot of people don't even know what Stalker is, sadly, but it's coming back, apparently.
Which I will say, like, I think this trailer was really neat. I like that whole thing where, like, just some guys around the campfire, and then it transitions into different gameplay styles. Like, I thought that was really cool. Like,
yeah. I don't know how faithful this was, because I know there's a lot of old Stalker fans who were probably like, hey, that guy ran past as somebody was spraying bullets at him. That would never work. But, like, I don't know. It's a trailer. What do you want?
Yeah, like, you got to make things look nice. But, like, it did the thing in the trailer that, like, most, like, good sequel trailers should do, in that it makes me want to, like, try Stalker 1. Like,
yeah, I played
it makes me want to go back.
So, yeah, I
so,
think
like,
that's good.
Not 100% negative on this one.
No, I'm not really negative at all. I liked seeing it, but I don't think Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot to do with this anyway. But it was there. I should also mention that like there were like a bunch of different games that a lot of people said looked like Stalker, so it's really funny the like Stalker was also one of those games. Okay, here we go. Let's move on. So this is a big one.
Boy.
So this was a big fail. This is a big fail for me. Halo Infinite. Here's why. All right.
Okay. Go for it.
Quite simple. All right. This game was supposed to come out last year, and it got roasted online because they showed footage of the single player and people thought it looked really bad. I'm not really going to disagree with them on that. I mean, I'm not a huge Halo fan these days, but when I saw Craig the Brute,
yeah,
I understood people's concern, I suppose.
Like those promo shots they put out.
Yeah, it looked like Mega Bloks.
Yeah, like it looked like the Mega Bloks you buy at the store of like little Halo figures.
Yeah,
like,
so I do understand the concern with the visuals of it, and they delayed this game basically an entire year because of that. Not only that, but a lot of key people were either left or were taken off of the project. Like Joseph Staten was there on stage. He was brought in the last year to help fix this. So I was like, all right, let's really see the campaign. And they didn't show it because maybe they
had a cutscene, I guess.
Maybe they couldn't fix these problems. You know, it's an open world Halo game as well, which I don't know if that's going to fly with people. And this is the main thing. You can't not show the campaign because the campaign is what people are paying $60 for at this point because the multiplayer has gone free to play. So
that's what they really focused on during this whole like presentation. Yeah,
it's free to play, guys. You free to play the multiplayer. So I don't really. Yeah, and the multiplayer looks like Halo to me. I haven't played Halo in a very long time. I'm not really into it anymore. But
me neither.
It was one of the. So I'm not saying the multiplayer necessarily looks bad. I think that from what I've seen of like Halo 5, it looks like they were kind of going in some weird directions. This looked more authentic to me. However, the campaign, I think there's a real possibility that it's not going to be authentic at all. It's going in some really weird directions, and they don't want to prove to people that these directions are going to work by showing anything. So
they should have showed me, like, because, that original trailer, it was just kind of like a walk around, walk to this fight, and then they fought, and that was about it. But it's like, show me, like, more. Like what is this whole big open world thing they're trying to go for? Like, I would have loved to see more of that. But instead, I just kind of, you got Halo multiplayer. It's Halo multiplayer. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll be able to bring it back, but I feel like Halo just passed its prime. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, 100% past its time. Like,
it had a great run, but I don't know.
Remember Gears of War? Like, it's...
Yeah, dude, I didn't know Gears of War 5 came out until, like, 6 months after it came out. I was like, wait, what? This came out?
Remember Gears Tactics?
Gears Tactics.
That came out.
That might be fun. I do like strategy games, but
it's like, it's the eternal problem of like Microsoft like old franchises that like they ran out of steam. Like after like 3 and like it kind of reached 2, but like that after those games, that was it.
Yeah, once
we're good.
Once your audience graduates high school, it's like, do we really still want to do this? I think they need to, not to say they're not trying to push towards other franchises, but I feel like that's more important. And I do feel like, not seeing Perfect Dark, not seeing Fable, I don't think they showed Avowed or that Hellblade sequel. Like, there were a lot of other games that I had wished they had shown during this event, which we didn't get to see.
Apparently, I heard that other game that Rare is working on, that I think it's called Everwild.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't show that, and I think apparently the issue is, like, I think that game might be going through some, like, trouble right now.
Maybe. I mean, I accept that these
nothing
games...
new for Rare, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe these games are in trouble. Maybe they don't really have anything to show. That's fine, but I just kind of was hoping for a little more elaboration on what some of those games were.
A screenshot would have made the world.
They mentioned Perfect Dark, but that just made me be like, oh yeah, well, they should have showed Perfect Dark.
That should have been the thing that ends the whole thing. Was here's first gameplay, Perfect Dark. Like that should have ended the
So we're gonna at least mention some other games that because they showed a lot of trailers. So only a couple really stuck with us. And the first was a game called Atomic Heart, which had a really weird trailer. definitely one of those Slavic-looking games, kind of like Stalker. But I like the trailer. I'm going to keep an eye on it. But
yeah, the Eurojank in Atomic Heart is palpable.
It had that art style, so I was like, "Ooh, maybe that'll be something." But the other game that we were definitely interested in is a game called Replaced.
Yeah, Replaced. This game looked sick when we saw it.
Yeah, cinematic platformers, sometimes I'm into them, but not always. But the aesthetic of this was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly Blade Runner world, but also the pixel art is kind of like Octopath Traveler, as far as how they did it. I thought it looked really nice. And it looked cinematic.
Yeah, the environments. And, like, the tone, I love the tone in it. Like, the animations on the characters they were so good. Like, when he got into combat, everything about Replaced is just great. Also, but this is actually a thing I would like to at least put out there for people. There was another similar kind of like Blade Runner-esque pixelated like style game that also came on, I think, a few years ago on a Microsoft conference.
Yeah, that game had some heat over something the developer said. I don't really remember, but I thought that was this game.
No, Replaced is not that game, and this game has nothing to do with the same developer. So if you're worried about that stuff, don't worry about it.
I think I saw some people, being like, "Is this that game?" No, those are unrelated games that just kind of look similar.
But yeah, keep an eye on it. This was pretty much the best thing we saw at Microsoft. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't really have anything to do with that. But I think it was probably my favorite thing. We also had a good laugh at the trailer for something called Elden Chronicle, which you said was
I guess it's from this
Kickstarter game,
I guess
right?
it was a Kickstarter game by the Suikoden guys.
Yeah, I think I heard about this, but when they showed it, I didn't recognize it. It was actually like 2 games, and it also kind of looked like Octopath, but not quite. And then we just when we saw that it said 2023 at the end, I don't know why that just made us laugh, but we were like, really? This is coming out in 2023? Like, this doesn't look like it's going to take that long, but
sure, it could be like a small development team, but they showed that, and they showed another game that's coming out sooner than the main game, which is a kind of action hack and slash game.
Yeah, but it was the same franchise, even though this isn't really a franchise yet, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get that.
It was a little confusing. But it was also the only Asian game, right? Correct us if we're wrong, but I don't recall seeing any other games that weren't from the West at this conference.
I think, and you know what? It was weird. It's I thought this was some I didn't even know this was a Japanese game. I thought it was just an indie game, inspired by the JRPGs they played as a kid or something like that, right?
Maybe, yeah. Okay, well, it's often on the list in the bad category.
Yeah.
We have to talk about Forza. I mean, I don't really have that much to say about Forza.
I love cars. I absolutely love cars. No, yeah, this was terrible.
It took up so much time. I think that's the main reason, is that it really wrecked the pacing of this presentation to have, and they just were like, now we're gonna here's everybody, and we're gonna play car game, and they didn't even race. They just drove around and hit pinatas.
Why'd they do it? Why'd they do it for Forza? Why didn't they do it for Halo? Why didn't they do it for
I would have
Starfield?
Much rather watch a match of people playing Halo than watch them say, did you know you can drive around in the open world and then maybe do a race?
We know what Forza looks like. Everyone knows what Forza looks like. I don't think we really needed an extended look at just this game, which was the only one. This was the only game they went super in on. While every game had a nice quick trailer, next one, but this one was no trailer, and let's really talk about it. Let's stop and appreciate how good we made Mexico look. What are we doing here?
That actually was the most deep divey thing that they did, because I don't really consider Halo to have been a deep dive, personally.
Yeah.
Wow, you're right.
A weird choice.
Yeah.
At least they didn't bring a car on stage.
No, they couldn't bring a car on stage this year, but they probably would have if they could.
Yeah, they would have if they could.
So the only thing we have left was the closer,
Yeah.
which, I mean, look, if you saw a trailer and you liked it, good for you, but it's not the kind of game that I thought should have been the closer, personally.
When they were starting to describe the game that was going to close it, they said, "Oh, this new amazing game, this co-op shooter," and my brain was just like,
It's from
no.
Arcane. Like, Arcane doesn't really... they've done things that aren't really like that, so this is definitely a change for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Left 4 Dead with vampires, but you kind of have magic powers. There were a lot of Left 4 Dead type games this year, by the way. I think
I don't know what's up with that.
At least 4. So, yeah, I don't know. This to me wasn't good as a closer, and it was entirely pre-rendered, and I didn't really feel like I got a great sense of what this will actually be. But
yeah,
will
it be a first-person game? I don't know. Third person? I don't know. Like it's
what's
like
with the
I get it.
robot?
Pre-rendered trailers are cool, but like, come on, man. Like this is you're trying to show us a new IP. Show us what the game actually is.
Yeah,
like if you really have this much confidence in it, then actually spend the money on the game and not like a trailer that probably wasn't even made by the devs. Like,
yeah, can you actually go into convenience stores and drink Slurpees, or was that just a thing for the trailer? Like, is this a game mechanic? I don't know.
And if somebody gets grabbed by a vampire, can you like do things to stop them? I don't know. Like, the only thing I can understand is like maybe you can jump with this power, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little hard to really put it all together, I guess.
Yeah, and there's guns because it's a Microsoft game, so there's guns.
I don't know, kind of looked like they wanted to make Shadowrun, but they didn't have the license for Shadowrun. So
yeah, or they wouldn't give it to them. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Well, don't forget,
it was really like
there was a Shadowrun game that Microsoft did like a long time ago, and it was
that was like multiplayer only, right?
It was a big flop.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of big flops, let's just go to the next conference. So the Microsoft conference wasn't great, but we had Square Enix, and we thought, hey, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, this will turn it around, right?
No. So we've only got 3 games from this one to talk about because they didn't really have a lot, and some of the games were basically just phone ads. Like, there was just nothing. So we're going to start with what they started with, which was the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Now, there's definitely a part of me that is like, oh no, please, can Eidos Montreal just make a Deus Ex game again? But, to be fair, Guardians of the Galaxy single-player game, good. Because I played the Avengers beta, I really didn't understand the hype. It doesn't seem like anyone understood the hype, honestly. And they're still trying to make it work, even though it lost like $80 million. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but this game might actually work out better. It really just depends on, I wasn't completely sold on it. Combat-wise and like direction-wise, I just felt like it was missing a few things that would have reassured me about what it's going to be.
Because with Star-Lord, I guess in the gameplay they showed, he can shoot. He does like sliding slinger. He can like
yes, he does.
Xenoblade reference. But he like I don't know. He can do hand to hand. I guess it kind of looked Arkham-y, but I don't know. But then
you also have like Xenoblade. You can summon your buddies to do stuff like
you can make the Guardians actually like do special moves to people, which was actually kind of cool. I like that idea, but it makes me think of their other games, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake. How it plays is like you control a full party, and like you can swap between any of those characters. And when you swap, the character plays completely differently. They have their own set of moves, and they just do their own thing. And you could swap to anybody at any point in any fight. It just makes me wonder. It's like, why didn't they just do that? Like, why not? It's like, okay, I'm whooping with Star Wars right now, but my abilities are on a cooldown. I'll swap to Gamora and get like more close in or something like that. Like,
yeah, I think they could have. That would have been interesting because then you would have had like 4 or 5 different play styles, and that would have been neat to explore. But they really did make it sound like you only play as Star-Lord, and given that it's a team game, that feels a little weird. Because if you made a Justice League game, you wouldn't just play as Batman. So like, what's the
No.
deal? Yeah, feels a little weird.
You give variety to a team. Like, it's a team game. It's a game about a team where you're not really playing most of the team.
Yeah, maybe
Right.
maybe Star-Lord's moveset's going to just be really deep, and that'll kind of justify it. But I'm not convinced, at this point in time, that that's really going to be the case. Hey, it kind of looked cool. I like the space stuff, and so it could be fun. But
It looks like a AAA game. Like, it looks
Yeah.
good. But like, there were points also, like, I checked other streams to see if it was just us, but like, there are points where that game in the trailer just chugs.
yeah, no, the frame rate was bad during combat, and that is a concern. So they do have to iron that out.
Not even like big combat. It was against like some random Jones.
One enemy.
Like,
it looked
yeah.
like Among Us. The little red jump.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
It's nothing.
yeah, I that was the problem with it, and I just don't. That's the other thing. They spent way too much time talking about this. Like, this was like 10, 15 minutes of the conference.
This was half of the conference.
Oh God, and I don't think that Square Enix's core audience cares at all about this comic book stuff. Like, I just don't think that they care. So, good luck. But
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to turn out. We'll see.
I mean, it's coming this year, so I guess we'll see. I hope it works out. But
yeah,
we got other things to worry about, like Babylon's Fall.
Yeah.
Which we finally got to see more gameplay.
Yeah, we were excited for this because it is a platinum game, and they announced this a long time ago and didn't really.
In
talk about
retrospect, though, I'm a little less excited for it.
Why?
It's the fact that, like, okay, when I was watching it looks fine, but like the backgrounds are like, it has this weird stylization with the backgrounds, but also like, apparently this is going to be like a service game now. And it's co-op oriented, and like most like co-op platinum games don't have a history of being that great. And apparently they talked about how you can like spend real money to like skip the grind or something. It's like, oh no, like this is it's starting to sound worse and worse as it goes. I'm just worried. I love platinum games, but like, I'm getting bad vibes off this, like, after the fact.
Yeah, if that's really the case, then it's kind of a shame, because I thought it looked cool. It's like kind of like a gauntlet style game almost. And I like that idea. A true dungeon crawl could be neat. There was some cool stuff visually, but
yeah, the combat, it looks like platinum. Like that part seems great. But like,
I don't want that just to be an excuse, for like, microtransactions. That's just lame.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I hope there's more to this game, and that it's not as bad as what people have been saying, or what I guess interviews and like articles have been saying.
Yeah, because they also implied that like it never ends, but that would be.
It's a Nier Automata that it never ends. First line of Nier Automata. Everything that's created eventually ends.
How awkward.
Like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see how it is, but I'll try to keep an open mind because I'm like halfway there on this. It's kind of like Guardians. I'm halfway there, and I guess I'm halfway there on the final game on the docket. A game that, in my opinion, they really needed to spend more time talking about instead of just.
Oh God, they needed more time on this. They need to spend so much more time on this.
So, of course, we're talking about literally the only meme from E3 this year, Strangers of Paradise, the Final Fantasy Origin, which
chaos.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's a real hoot. It is good cringe. Nomura's not good character designs. And, I want to like this game, but also I just don't know what the hell is going on here.
I think also, like, the issue was, like, okay, so there's something about Nomura. I don't know what happened to him, but, like, ever since, like, Versus 13, like, how that didn't come out, and then all of a sudden, like, every character design seems to just... His character designs have just become the same thing. It's person in black clothes, and like maybe there's plaid on it. Like you have this with Noctis, you have this in Kingdom Hearts 3 with Yuzora, which is one of the new characters he designed. now you got this in Strangers of Paradise. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him. Like,
I don't get it either.
he really wants to make this t-shirt pants look like really work in a fantasy game.
Yeah, he kind of, his character designs in the last like 10 years have really kind of sucked. I mean, not all of them, but like
even like some of the OCs in the Final Fantasy VII remake look a bit off. Like some of them are like, it's a shirt, but the shirt goes over the pants and connects. It's like, what?
I just don't know what he's doing anymore.
I just don't know.
It's weird. So, however, we should point out that the designs for the characters they showed in the trailer are apparently just their starting outfits because you can switch classes.
Yeah,
and
that makes it better.
So that does make it better. But like, there's a game called Yakuza 7, which also did this, except they managed to give the characters good distinctive clothing instead of just shirts that are black and the pants are black. You know,
one of the characters in Yakuza 7 is literally a hobo. And I like remember his character design, like, no matter what. Like, he's like one of my favorite characters in that game.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing with that. So with here, they should just do the same thing. I don't know. It's like really bizarre stuff. And it's not even technically made by Square. It's being done by Team Ninja. So could be good, could be bad. I mean, visually, it looks on point. I like the idea of like remixing old Final Fantasy games, but it's like a completely different genre. I don't really know if the main characters should be dude bros, as they appear to be, but whatever. That's all Nomura can write now. He just writes generic dudes.
I think they're, I guess other than their clothes, I think their faces look fine. Like, sure, like, I guess the guy who looks like that one character from The Bouncer, maybe he could be cool.
Oh, you mean
like,
Sora?
No, it's another one.
Yeah,
but like,
I hear you.
Maybe these characters have cool personalities and they're more than just Edgington or whatever. Like,
or maybe
I hope there's more to them.
Or maybe the personality won't matter because the gameplay is really good. I hear there's a demo out. I wonder how that demo is. Has anyone played that demo? Anybody? Oh, it doesn't work. It's fucking broken.
So apparently it's fixed. They fixed it this morning.
Oh,
apparently.
Good.
But once this trailer came out, like they said, okay, demo coming soon, and then it was like, no, demo right now. Demo comes out, people download the demo. It corrupts when you start.
Yeah.
Literally, no one could play this demo
for like 3
days. And 3 whole days. Which, I mean, that's the big problem because if that's the point where it's like you have to get this in people's hands right now because. Everyone's fresh on it.
If I downloaded a demo and it crashed the second that I installed it, I would probably never want to play it. Like, you cannot release
13 gigs.
You don't want to do that. You can't just release this and then it just shits itself. Like, come on. I mean, I don't know. That's a big mistake right there.
I'm going to try the demo now that it is fixed because I didn't start it, so I don't have to re-download it. But, like, oh man, this game has an uphill battle, and I hope it can do better. But let's see what happens.
I think I would have felt better if they just spent more time talking about it or explaining what it's going to be like. But they didn't. They closed the show with this trailer, and we had a lot of questions.
They should have played through the demo. They should have just here's the demo, and they play through it.
Maybe
that would have helped out a lot.
Yeah, but this conference ended, and I was. Oh, by the way. There were remakes of 9 games during this trailer. We had a remake counter last year, I think, or at least we kept one internally. There were 9 remakes announced at this panel. Holy crap!
And they got those remakes out, those announcements pretty quick. Like Pixel Remaster, bam, 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 remakes. Like and they are remakes. They're not just ports. Apparently, they are redoing all the sprites and all that stuff to give them a uniform look.
Which could be good.
They do not. They kind of don't look as good as the old sprites, but I guess.
Well, as long as it's not like the Chrono Trigger port, like that really pissed people off. So hopefully, it isn't that port. So the point is, we thought this was like the worst panel. We were like, wow, as far as conferences, this is it. Can't get worse than this.
Can't get worse than this. Definitely can't. It got worse.
So Capcom.
Good old. Capcom.
We like Capcom here. And I do want to preface this. Capcom just released 2 pretty big games. So maybe
Yep.
they're not going to have that much to show. I'm not going to assume.
Village is great. Rise is great. Like,
Yeah, we just got 2 big releases, so maybe this is just Capcom doing a nice victory lap.
Yeah. Here comes something new. Anything new. Anything, please.
I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I think this was the worst E3 conference type video that I have ever seen, and that includes the famous like Konami 2010 one from back in the day.
That one's fun to watch at least.
Yeah,
this one is like
this was horrible. This was why would you waste the money putting on this event when you could just put the 1 or 2 trailers that had anything of substance anywhere else in E3. You could have put them anywhere. And it was ridiculous.
They had to pay money. They had to pay money to be in that time slot. I don't get it.
It was embarrassing.
So
horrified.
Okay. So the conference itself, what did they show? Basically, they just showed trailers that we already know about or have already seen, and they announced, here comes Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We got to see a bit more of that. Cool, that's fine. Resident Evil Village is getting DLC. It literally just started development, as of a week ago. So we're not seeing that for 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, nothing to talk about with that.
And then it's just, here's the 30th trailer for Monster Hunter Stories.
Yeah, we just kept seeing that trailer. We saw that at 3 different events. The Monster Hunter Rise information that they presented really didn't have any substance. It was just wow,
it was info we already knew.
Yeah, here's some boring event quests. You could get sunglasses. They didn't really have anything to say about Rise. So, and then the worst part was that this ended with
hold on, wait, hold on.
Okay.
This
Am I forgetting something?
Here comes the big ending. They said Capcom Fighters. That means, hey, maybe they're going to show off that last Street Fighter character. Maybe, just maybe, there's a Capcom versus game. Maybe there's a new fighting game. Rival Schools? Literally anything. It was an esports montage.
Yeah, that was really they had to literally
embarrassing.
Explain to the audience what Street Fighter was, and I just sat there what is this?
They had the ball to end it on esports.
Yeah, I really didn't understand anything about this. It was not. They should not have had this conference. The Great Ace Attorney.
There was no reason.
Great Ace Attorney, you could have put a trailer for that in the Nintendo thing or anywhere else in the E3 programming.
Anywhere else.
You could have, same with Resident Evil. You did not need, because they didn't really. The Resident Evil DLC is the only thing that was a new announcement whatsoever, and it was not really much of an announcement. It was something that I think people already knew. They didn't have anything to show or even concept art. There was just nothing. So it's
and also that trailer had to be super easy to make because the announcement was literally white text on a black background.
Yeah, it wasn't actually a trailer for DLC. It was literally just text that said, "We are making DLC." Which is really bizarre. They were just interviewing one of the producers of the game, and he couldn't have said that himself. What happened?
Yeah.
So it was bad. Really
bad.
And
Reverse. Reverse, they showed off Reverse, and that's coming out. Reverse is literally next month, they announced. And they didn't show any gameplay. They didn't show anything new.
I was talking
a new character?
Yeah, I was talking to a friend about that who was just what is Reverse? I don't know what Reverse is. I had to explain it to him because Capcom wouldn't. They didn't even know because they didn't communicate it very well.
I don't know. Show a new map. Show anything.
Yeah, this was
embarrassing.
Yeah, I would say this was embarrassing, and that was our point we were trying to make. If you don't have enough steam for your own conference, you don't have to have one. It's okay. There are companies sitting it out. PlayStation sat this out. Electronic Arts basically sat this out other than, slipping in a trailer for the new Battlefield here and there. But they're not having an event because they don't feel like they need to. I think they're doing something next month, but that's my point. Don't feel like you have to be a part of E3 because I would rather not have my time wasted. And I think a lot of other people feel the same way.
40 minutes you'll never get back. from this Capcom thing.
Yeah, and then, the last couple conferences were just pissing me off. And really, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, do I even want to do this again? Like, this sucked. Do I want to do this next year? Like, do I really want to do this? Like, why put my time out to watch these things when they're going to be this lackluster?
But Rocco, who else? They won't be able to enjoy this wonderful podcast we put on. What
oh shit!
What will happen?
Oh, then I guess we have to.
Oh,
I guess we have to.
I guess we have. No, we have to. Every our listeners, our fans. This is a very prolific podcast that a ton of people listen to.
We got a lot of episodes
to the end, especially to the end. Like,
yeah, If you're listening, if you've made it here, let us know your favorite meme that you saw of Strangers of Paradise. My favorite. My favorite was the one with the Fast and Furious.
Waste of time?
Your favorite waste of time. What did you do while watching a conference? Well, like what else were you doing? Because you certainly weren't paying attention.
Did you look at your phone? Because I did a lot.
Surely. Yeah, I mean, so this was not good. And last year we didn't have E3, and I didn't miss it. And honestly, like maybe just don't do this. Like, if we're gonna have it be this underwhelming, like, developers announce games when you're ready to show them. I'm fine with it. We don't need this big scheduled event. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, like, I would have rather had nothing than this E3.
Yeah,
that's the worst I can say.
Yeah, I also think that E3 is not even really living up to its full potential. Because I think E3, the best thing about E3 is that it does give smaller games a chance to be seen. And I think it was a lot harder to do that when you're doing it in a stream format, when you don't have booths and things like that. I think that causes problems. So really, like, E3 probably, I know they can't do it physically. But that's the stuff that I think is really significant, is that it isn't necessarily these conferences. And unfortunately this year, the conferences were really not good.
Nope.
Like, I wish we watched the limited run thing, because, like, plumbers don't wear ties getting a physical copy. Like, that's...
The fact that that's one of the biggest pieces of news out of E3 is...
Yeah, really. Man. Like, that's sticking with me in my mind, whereas I don't think a lot of what we saw is going to stick with me at all.
Sorry.
Shout out to the games that we talked about, because we talked about you did your job, well, except for when you didn't, but so shout outs to that. But I think that's kind of, do you have any other closing thoughts about any of this stuff?
I guess if I were to say anything, hey, check out Ska Studios, Salt and Sacrifice. It might be up your alley. Seek out dungeon. Endless Dungeon too.
Yeah.
Seek out, maybe for maybe a week, just forget the big games from Ubisoft, Microsoft, Square, and Capcom. Just play an indie game. I don't know. Do anything other than, like, supporting this stupid hype cycle that we are endlessly stuck in.
Well, maybe play Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, because
maybe play that.
I like those games. I want that series to do well. But I don't know.
Hey, thanks for listening at the end, I guess.
Thank you for listening, and of course, stay tuned. We will have a separate episode where we discuss Nintendo. Spoiler alert, it's going to be more optimistic than this, because that was easily the best conference, so stay tuned. We're going to have more.
If you want us to be happy, check out that video.
Yeah, we're not shills, I promise. This is just how we feel.
Yeah.
So, see you later. Thank you so much for listening. Of course, stay tuned for videos on the channel, reviews, and all that stuff. Of course, more of that
they're
coming
good.
your way.
I like them.
New tier list coming soon on a big series that really took a long time to play through. So, I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you all later. Peace out, everybody.